January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month, but how much do you really know about human trafficking? We've all heard the term. The scope of the problem is much greater than you might imagine. According to statistics, human trafficking is the #2 most profitable criminal enterprise in the United States after drugs and just before weapons.
Let that sink in
for
a little bit. And while we like to think of Delmarva as being separated from big city crime, it's actually a hotbed for human trafficking, which means it requires an extra layer of care for those affected. Joining us this afternoon to shed some light on this important matter is Julie Crane. She is the Executive Director for Harriet's House. Julie, thank you for coming in and talking about this very important subject.
Thank you for having me.
All right, before we get to Harriet's House and what the program is all about, can you shed a little light on exactly what human trafficking is?
So the technical term is that human trafficking is the use of force, fraud, or coercion to obtain labor or commercial sex. And anyone under 18 who is participating in commercial sex or is being used for labor is automatically considered human trafficking and does not require force, fraud, or coercion.
Okay, so that's the technical explanation, which makes sense. But I got to ask, how do people fall into human trafficking?
So a lot of it happens in relationship. So especially with sex trafficking, it's done with grooming tactics. So the same type of tactics that are used to help someone to get into a relationship with sexual abuse or domestic violence relationship. The person acts as a friend or a boyfriend who spends a lot of time getting that person prepared to be trafficked. So they're buying them gifts, they're spending time with them, telling them how beautiful they are, and just investing a lot of time to get to know that person, to see what their vulnerabilities are, see what their weaknesses are, and then they turn the tables on them and ask them to perform that act to get money or other things in return.
Wow. Oh my goodness, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Okay, so we mentioned Delmarva and human trafficking here. Why is Delmarva a hotbed for this?
Because of the major routes that run through here, plus with Ocean City, there's a lot of transient people that come through. So you can see that, you know, if they're having someone who's running an escort service or a brothel that's happening inside someone's home or an apartment building, then you're getting the tourists that are coming in to buy sex. And so also it happens at strip clubs, it happens in pornography. So people that are in a position where they're performing an act and they're getting paid for it, but someone else is getting the gain.
Wow. Do you think this problem is being overlooked?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because people think it's one thing. Maybe it's the van that's coming around and driving around looking for that person to kidnap, but it's not necessarily happening in that way. It's usually in relationships. And a lot of times kids are vulnerable on social media because they're accepting friend requests from people that they don't know. That person's coming in, they're chatting with them, they're getting to know them, they're pretending to be someone else and then asking them to meet up. So it puts them in a very dangerous position.
Do you think there's enough oversight for this problem when it comes to our law enforcement and our justice system?
I can't really speak to that because they are trained, and there are some places that do events where they go in and they try to get dates with girls, try and look for underage girls that are in the trafficking situations and try to stop it that way. But I'm not really sure what's happening here on the shore.
Yeah. Would you mind hanging around for a second and I want to take a break here and then come back and talk to you more about what Harriet's House is, what Harriet's House does. If you wouldn't mind that?
I would.
Great, wonderful, thank you. All right, stay with us. DelmarvaLife will be right back.
We've heard about the epidemic of human trafficking here on Delmarva, but let's get into the support for victims. It's a complicated recovery, and that deals with both the emotional and physical burdens that come with being affected by human trafficking.
And thankfully in 2017, Julie Crane, as well as her husband Jim, started the process of starting a nonprofit organization specifically to address this. And man, oh man, are we glad you did, as we get to know more about it even before we get back on camera. Harriet's House, tell us about Harriet's House, what it is, what it does.
Okay, so we are a nonprofit anti-human trafficking organization focused on bringing freedom and healing to women survivors of human trafficking and sexual exploitation. So we opened up a residential program this past October, and it is an undisclosed location in Dorchester County. We have space for up to 5 women, and we currently have 1 resident where we provide comprehensive care, which will help them physically, emotionally, spiritually, and educationally. And in that 18 months, help them to set up goals that they can accomplish, educationally especially, so that if someone doesn't have their high school education, they can get their GED,
Right.
they can get continuing education, we can get them focused on a path to start a new life.
How do these victims find you?
So we have done a really good job at getting our name out there in the community in all the counties. We've been trying to do trainings for EMS and the police, and also for just doing presentations for organizations that may give us referrals. So education and awareness is a big push for us to get people aware of the issue, what it really is, instead of just what you think it is. And so we've gone out and done a lot of presentations to get people to know who we are and what our resources are.
Yeah. You just explaining everything that you approach, that you do, it made my head spin. What is the recovery process like?
So when first somebody comes in, it's stabilization and safety is the first process. So getting them to know that they're in a safe place, they're going to have a place to sleep every night, they're going to be warm, they're going to have meals to eat, getting them on a schedule, because a lot of times people are living in survival mode. So you have to help them to settle down from that, and then let them know that they're safe, they have a safe place. So our house is an undisclosed location. We have security cameras on the outside. We also have a privacy fence. So
Nobody knows.
Right.
So nobody knows.
and it just looks like a regular house in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And we have staff that's there 24/7, so it is staffed and they're never left alone. And we do have a program that we do, so we set them up with goals that they can accomplish long-term and short-term, help them to, see what they want to accomplish in the time that they're with us, and teach them basic skills, so life skills, cleaning the house, cooking dinner, doing your laundry, taking care of your own space. And then in the second phase, we introduce therapy, so that they're getting therapy from someone who is trained to help with that complex trauma. And then they're also going to start educational goals at that point. And so with each phase, they're accomplishing things and celebrating the things that they have accomplished,
Right.
and then setting up new goals for when they're ready to leave the program. They're able to leave with a job, with their education, and then with some money in the bank so that they can have a fresh start.
What about volunteers? Can people from the community help you with
Yes.
Harriet's house?
Yeah, we do accept volunteers, and we look for volunteers to help come in to teach a skill. So if somebody likes to crochet or knit or even to cook, come in and work with the residents and teach them those skills. If somebody wants to teach a class, maybe art or something like that, music lessons. I mean, you could just, it's a variety of things. You
Sure.
could just expand that however you want to. So whatever your skill level is, if there's something that you like to do, that you'd like to teach somebody else, those are the volunteers we're looking for.
This is an amazing program.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, you and your husband, for taking this on. Unbelievable.
Thank you.
Thank you much.
Wishing you success in the future.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Very much so.